Hey Janome makers, Florence D'lee here, and today we are going to be talking about the art and beauty of beaded appliques. So it is a very special month for two reasons. One, it is Halloween month, my favorite time of the year, and it's also fun because it is my sister's wedding. My sister is getting married at the end of October, and like any good sister of mine, she is getting married right before Halloween. And it is a spooky theme, and it is Halloween centered, and that theme is Disney's Haunted Mansion. My sister and I are Disney freaks. We're Halloween freaks. So for the rest of the video, to keep it festive, I am going to wear my favorite pair of Mickey ears. So get in the dune buggy, strap in, and prepare for a ride. Now listen, nobody was making my sister's wedding dress except for me, so I broke my number one rule of no brides and decided to make my sister something as fabulous as she is. With the theme being Haunted Mansion, we wanted to have it be kind of campy and a nod to the whole theme, to the whole ride, without being a Halloween costume. My sister's an untraditional bride, so we did white mixed with lavender, and because I love appliques, we decided to throw a few in there. And by a few, I mean 60 to be exact. Janome is getting a first look of behind the scenes of making this wedding dress. There's a long way to go still, but I have a few more weeks, and I wanted to give you all a sneak peek of where the dress is and how it's coming along and what it's going to look like. Now, if you've ever bought a singular applique, you would know that it's a bigger pyramid scheme than LuLaRoe. Appliques like this singularly can sell from $15 to $30 online or in store, when in reality, you can buy this by the yardage for about $20 to $40 online. You can get so many appliques, a huge number of them, including the trims, for a fraction of what you would pay individually. I would do the math for you right now, but it's not my strong suit. So what I do first is I cut them out in big chunks to make my life easier, and then I will go in with pinking shears and cut around them with a little more detail, but still enough room around each applique that I can zigzag with my machine without catching any beads or breaking any needles. Now, this is a perfect project that you can really zone out on. You can sit on your couch and watch a movie, maybe watch Haunted Mansion, maybe the Eddie Murphy one, or maybe the slightly better received new Guillermo del Toro one. Now, I've already drawn on my skirt pattern where all of my appliques are going to be placed, so I could make sure to get a correct count and a placement line for each one. Obviously, I have already drawn on my pattern, but nobody should be denied the beauty of my original artwork. So I'm going to show you how I set it up on my pattern. First, I'm going to draw all my lines out. I eighths this circle, and I am going to mark 9 inches because that is how far tip to tip my applique is. And so you can see I wrote 9 inches. You can tell I'm really good at visuals, and here are the beautiful drawings I supply on my pattern, so I know it is a floral applique, and that's a signature because it will be worth a lot of money one day once I'm dead. I'm going to lay the applique down so you can see what I mean. Tip to tip, we're at 9 inches, and now my skirt will be all evenly placed with appliques. And we see that, and we stuck the landing. It's a 10 from the judges. So because placement is crucial on these lines, here's a part of my skirt. This is the center back piece, and it's already cut out, it's already flatlined, but because I am flatlining it, it's really important to stitch these lines down. 1, for marking placement, and 2, so it's not so woodgy when I'm sewing it. So I'm laying it out right now. The seam allowance is not included in this pattern, so that is why I am centering it right now. And I'm going to throw a few pins in there to keep it stable. And what I'm going to do is flip each line over one by one, and with my ruler, draw the line with a marker. Now, I have recently come to discover the beauty of disappearing markers. I know it is crazy, they've been around forever, but I have never really been a fan of them, and I recently discovered a brand that I absolutely love, so I've kind of been going off the rails and turning every project into a doodle bear. So I fold each one back, and you can go freehand with it, but because I have big hands that press too hard, I will often just use a ruler as a guide, and there's the marking pen. And so I'm just going to draw straight down each line because this is going to make my skirt into kind of a pizza, and I'm going to be able to clearly see where each of my appliques is marked. Now, this may not be for you. A lot of people have trust issues with these markers, which I understand. So if you want to use pens or anything else, go ahead. The important part is that we're getting these marking lines on. As you can probably tell by now from my videos, I have a very simple rule. If I can machine sew it, I'm going to machine sew it. So appliques generally are hand sewn, but it is just not my thing, and I find these are stronger, they're more reliable, and takes about a fraction of the time to machine stitch. Always put your cap back on the markers. Now I'm gonna throw a few pins in this and just flat line right over that marker. Anyone else ever leave that lid open? I swear to God, it spends most of its time open. So now I'm just gonna, on about a 4 length, very easily just stitch right over that marking line, so my fabrics are fused together with the thread, and also I have a placement line for all my appliques. This also falls along the lines of a lot of people may frown upon it because now there is a stitch line on the dress, but with the right color thread on this brocade, it's going to completely disappear. Also, I find most people who think that are bad sewers. So if you just sew a straight line, then you'll be fine. I love seeing a beautifully sewn line on a dress. I machine stitch almost all my hems, and I always get compliments because they're clean, they're straight, unlike me. Now we're gonna take this to the iron once we've sewn all our lines, and we're going to press it, 1, to make this ink disappear, and 2, because we are sewing on a bias, it might get a little gathery as you stitch, and this will just straighten everything out. You definitely should have ironed this first in case there's any shrinkage, especially with the intense lamaze I'm using, but I've already done that, so you can see it's going pretty well, and look at that ink, it disappeared. Witchcraft! Burn her. Dun, dun. Da-dun. Now, picking a thread can be a little tricky. I'm gonna pull some options, but generally I find the lighter you go, the better. Light threads disappear under light, whereas dark threads are accentuated under the light. A little pro tip. Now there are 2 routes to go. We can spray adhesive fabric or pens. Really the choice is yours. I prefer pens, but I'll show you both ways. Now, because some things are truly sacred, I am not going to do this applique example directly on my sister's skirt, but rather I cut a chunk out from the extra and serged it. So I'm now going to call this the fabric square of learning. That was in quotes if you could not tell. So you can see I marked the middle so you can more clearly see, and I've lined the applique up. And I'm just throwing a few pins in there. I opt to stay closer to the center of the applique. That way I don't have to move my pins as I sew and they won't get caught under my feed dog. Now I'm going to figure out the right thread color. What you want to do is pull them out singularly and lay them down. A single thread is different than the spool of thread color. So I'm just gonna, and that's dumb, I had buttonhole thread, so that was a wash. But this one is a great choice. This light lilac is a perfect medium between the silver of the fabric and the purple of the applique. Now this is the spray adhesive. I rarely use it because I find it makes everything sticky, but if you're gonna use it, you just lightly spray on both surfaces. I like to lay out a little piece of paper to make sure I can control the stick. Give it a few seconds, lay it on and press it. It does hold it well for you to sew, but if you're not going to machine wash it after, it's a little complicated to get rid of the stick. Now my settings are a zigzag, and it's a personal preference, but I find that arbitrarily I like a 3.5 by a 2, or maybe a 4 by a 2. You're the boss, there's no rules, and it's a thumbs up from the judges. And because it's going to make your life a lot easier, I like to go to the medium speed. I love the speed setting! So until this day, I have always used a regular foot for this, but I decided to get crazy and pull out the feet that Janome offers, and I decided to take a chance on the free range sewing foot. And let me tell you, you will not be disappointed by this foot. I thought I was gonna teach everyone about appliques, which I'm doing, but I have learned on this day that this foot is so stellar, it's making it even easier. The width of it, it goes over any beads that you might be near so it doesn't catch like the metal. The curved upward edges help you kind of facilitate. It's like an, what would I say? It is the off-road truck of sewing feet. I'm zigzagging very slowly, and because of this magical foot, I'm rarely having to stop and change direction, but generally when I get about half done, I will put my foot up, rotate down, and change direction. I go right on the edge of the net, I don't like to go half and half. I'd rather go inward to be safe. But also, if you find you accidentally missed a part or you went over something incorrectly, it's no big deal. You just go back and you fix it. See, we got right on the edge there. So it's kind of an applique stitch, but a zigzag. It's my quick and dirty applique stitch. Now I've gone back to the iron because what I'm going to do is turn this upside down and iron it. I find that when you give heat to the net, it doesn't shrink wrap it, but it kind of helps the net settle into the fabric. So any kind of woods you may get, any kind of little tuck while you're sewing will vanish. And I know there are people screaming at me right now for throwing this iron over an applique, but hey, it's beads, it's fine. Move on. And now a little adding bonus for your viewing and learning pleasure is my secret to softening the edge of this if you're afraid people are gonna see it. Now I love me some E6000 and I love me a rhinestone. So I will generally find a few different colors of rhinestone that blend the fabric to the applique, and I will go about ½ an inch into the applique and about ½ an inch to 3/4 outward from the applique, and I will just start throwing a few clusters of stones in here. Now what this does is not only does it kind of ombre the applique out into the fabric, but it also is throwing glue and a hard surface stone over the net. So what it's doing is gluing that net down to the fabric, so your lifting of net, depending on how big your applique is minimized. And also, the only thing that can make an applique more beautiful is more sparkle. Also, you may have noticed my patent pending method of putting E6000 glue down and twirling it so you don't get any string. And I will let you use that in the future, but if you try to patent it, market it, or tell anyone else, I can't do anything about it, but like, I'll be mad. Thank you all so much for joining me today on the Janome channel. I'm Florence D'lee, and obviously you cannot see the finished product of this because you're in the future and I'm in the past, and this dress is not finished yet because my sister's wedding is at the end of October. But stay tuned, follow my Instagram, and you will see photos of it as soon as it is finished. As it is finished. You see, if you could see the dress now, in the future, in the past, that would be the World of Tomorrow ride. A ride literally so boring, I forgot the real name of it in the video. Which is a whole different wedding theme that's Disney, and probably less exciting, but everyone goes to it because there's air conditioning on a hot day. Also, happy Halloween. I don't know what I'm gonna be yet, but I'll probably sew it 5 minutes before a party I'm going to. It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.